As we all know, just a couple of weeks ago, Sony released what was possibly the biggest failure in video game history in Concord. It was extremely dire for them. They were probably at rock bottom, at least in the longest time in terms of PR, but they've actually had an unexpected reprieve. Despite all that happened with Concord, people are talking pretty positively about Sony now, and they've been able to sweep all the Concord stuff under the carpet because Astro Bot has released, kind of niche-y platformer, but it's got the big Metacritic score, everyone's saying how fun it is, nostalgic, bringing people back to those Nintendo-style platformers. It's released and done extremely well, and I'd even say myself, if it came to PC, I'd probably buy it. I'd be pretty interested. I like these sorts of games. I like to support 3D platformers. I'm just a little concerned that it may never come to PC because of the Sony branding. It uses their controller, the PS5 controller, very heavily. I hope it comes to PC. I think it'll be a mistake for Sony to leave some games PS5 only, and then the rest of the games come to PC. I just don't think that they'll get any loyalty to the PlayStation brand from PC players if they treat us poorly like that. So we'll see, but it's looking like a success. It looks like people like it. And as primarily a PC player, I wouldn't have normally talked about a game like this, but then I stumbled upon this article. I'm worried the robot in Astro Bot isn't attractive enough for me to enjoy. You can feel the humor, the heavy sarcasm. Oh, what is this comedian talking about? And when I say comedian, he's a sort of a games journalist, it seems like, Mike Drucker. But I'm not just saying comedian to be ironic or anything. He's got a Wikipedia page, this Mike Drucker, and he genuinely is a comedian, apparently. I get the feeling he wrote this Wikipedia entry himself. I don't think anyone would go to the trouble of writing this for him, looking at his body of work. But if we look at what he's done, writer for The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon. Now, I'm not an American, but my perception, most people's perception, I think, of like the Jimmy Fallons, the Stephen Colberts, is these shows, they don't stand on their own 2 feet anymore, like in the days of David Letterman or something. These shows exist to be political propaganda for one side of the political aisle. These shows don't even bring that big of an audience anymore, and yet they're big productions. You've got the highly overpaid hosts, millions and millions of dollars. The only real explanation is that they're paid propagandists. That's what I think anyway. But if we look at the article, again, I'm worried the robot in Astro Bot isn't attractive enough for me to enjoy. And what he's saying under this veil of sarcasm, which is made obvious by the fact that he has photoshopped Astro Bot's head onto attractive Stellar Blade lady, is toxic gamers, they can't even play and enjoy a game anymore unless there is attractive woman in it, uckable woman in it that they can fantasize over. Oh, it couldn't be possible for gamers just to enjoy a game because it's fun, because it's enjoyable to play. I know the article's meant to be a joke, apparently, but there is a little bit of projection there where these game journalists, they themselves don't find games fun. They hate games, they hate gamers. They're only in the business because they see gaming as a way to push their political views. They see maybe a young, gullible audience. Let's join the industry, write about it so we can push this propaganda. That's why these people like Mike Drucker are here. But it seems like they can't comprehend that someone would play a game for fun, so they create these sorts of narratives. And this one has done the rounds for ages, especially this year, which is basically, if you're a regular gamer and you want to play a game with just normal people in it, maybe even attractive people in it, if that's what you want, then there is something wrong with you. What could be more normal than playing a game as some obese woman who is actually a man, but they're calling her a woman? Why wouldn't you want that? Why don't gamers want that? What is wrong with this toxic community? That's what they've basically been saying all year. Again, gamers, or really just anyone looking to enjoy entertainment, whether it's games, movies, TV shows, all they really want is to see or play as decent-looking people. And that's normal. That's how it's been throughout human history. It's just that these people, these clowns, NPCs, propagandists, they're trying to twist that and they're trying to present this image of gamers into the mainstream or something. They're trying to pretend that every gamer who bought Stellar Blade, they were literally trying to stick their PP into their computer screen. And maybe I'm living in a bubble. Maybe that really was happening. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I really think that the reason that Stellar Blade was successful, it wasn't the attractive characters themselves. It was more that because the game clearly had conventionally attractive people in it, attractive women, that told people that the game was going to be focused on serving the audience. It wasn't made with some sort of DEI agenda. We're going to change the world. Social fabric's going to be upheaved. There was none of that. It was just going to be a fun game. That's why it was popular. That's why it sold millions of copies. But then you get these people where even if just a fun, innocent game like Astro Bot comes out, they have to go back to 4-5 months ago. They've got to change the conversation to gamers are sexist, gamers are racist once again. And maybe some people go, it's a harmless, funny article, but I just know these people. The article, it's more propaganda. It's designed to push a message. These people are never innocently funny. They've always got some sort of agenda at play, and we can see it here. A lot of people in my feed are talking about Astro Bot, and for good reason. Everything I've read has mentioned glorious gameplay that turns simple moments into gifts of pure wonder. It reminds me of the games of my youth, something I'd open on Christmas morning and rush to load into the system. So hasn't even played it, is writing this article about it, but they've just heard a tidbit here and there from friends who've played it. A million words to describe it. Again, they just want to talk about politics. They do not care about games. And he says it here, unfortunately, I'm probably never going to experience that fun firsthand because I'm worried the robot in Astro Bot isn't attractive enough for me to enjoy. Jumping straight to the narrative of gamers will only play a game if the characters in it are extremely attractive. That's their number one priority above anything else. It's got to have that. Totally ignoring the fact that most of the games that someone like this is salty about us criticizing, the Concords and so on, with their frankly retarded characters, obese, weird looking, they're actually just bad games, fundamentally. Even if you take out the ugly characters are just like a red flag, like you see it, and it's like a filter. You sort of go, phew, I'm glad you did that. I'm glad these characters look ridiculous, because that just tells me up front that you've made a shit game that I want nothing to do with and I don't want to spend my money on. Everything about it's bad. The characters that are clearly designed with political intent, something about toxic male gaze, this, that, just tells us that we can safely ignore it and we can move on to something else. Like people did with Stellar Blade, many other games, like they're probably doing with an Astro Bot as well, which doesn't have an agenda behind it. It's upset this person. And he continues here, I'm sure you're going to tell me that the robot in Astro Bot isn't designed to be attractive to normal people. The robot is supposed to be a non-human metal automaton with big eyes and the ability to hover. While its in-game behavior is meant to anthropomorphize this robot, big words equals big smart, this guy, all these people big smart, I'm mad there is explicitly no way to kiss it, which honestly is the problem. No lips alone would normally not be a deal breaker, but a lack of mouth means it's harder for me to draw fan art that should make the police search my laptop. Again, projection, but again, comedy gold. And if you want to hear more from this person, again, tune in to Jimmy Fallon or whatever late show host it is he writes for. You can hear much more of this great stuff. And this continues on. Like, I've gotten through like 1.5 paragraphs, but it's the same joke over and over for like 1,000+ words. This keeps going. 10 paragraphs, 12 paragraphs. You can read the whole thing if you want to be thoroughly entertained. And if we look at the comments, this is game journalism today, folks. So The Gamer, which is the outlet who published this, they finally reached the point where they can no longer even pretend to hide their contempt for their core demographic. You know, the people that actually keep this jabroni employed. He'll probably get a raise thanks to all the responses he's getting. Don't you just love games journalism? Now, obviously this article is pretty dumb, it's pretty stupid. If it was just a harmless, like, unfunny article, then I wouldn't really care, but the pathetic thing about it is there is actual malice behind it. Like, these people, they're never just naturally, innocently funny. They want to have a laugh with you. They're actually quite angry and upset behind the scenes. They're coping seething because they're having a bad time at the moment. All of the games that are infested with DEI, and they've been pushing that, they've been designing games from the ground up. First priority is the DEI. Tick all of those boxes, then we'll worry about the game. We've got to educate people first. We've got to save the world. We've got to change that fabric of society. Then we'll worry about entertainment. We've got to get our priorities straight. They've been doing that, and all the games they release are failing. Pretty much all of them are doing really, really badly. Maybe the occasional one slips by because it's using a popular IP, and they pretend, oh, everyone wants this, but really, the DEI stuff, people are sick of it. So their work has been failing, and meanwhile, the games that are being made that kick all of that crap to the curb, they've been huge successes. Astro Bot is kind of another one. It's just a fun time. It's sounding like none of the bullshit. It's doing extremely well, certainly better than Concord, which isn't hard because Concord actually sold 0 units, essentially, given they're giving everyone full refunds. So maybe Sony could take a lesson from this. Games that do well, no agendas. Everything else, anyone within the teams at Sony, or really just any video game development team around the world, if you have people in your teams and their priority is not just making the best, most fun, entertaining games for gamers, if they've got other things on their mind, like, oh, we've got to make every single game inclusive and diverse, and it's all nice and bubbly, people like that, you got to get them out, or you're going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars like Sony have. They paid the price. Other studios need to learn. Things are changing. Gamers have options. They can play older games. They can emulate games when this stuff wasn't happening and it was just about fun. People do finally seem to be learning to vote with their wallets. I only hope it can continue. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.